So it's a bit of a dull day today, but we're hopefully going to brighten it up by starting on our little mini planet kit. And we've got a few bits and pieces here to start with. But first I'll run through some of the things that you'll need in the way of tooling. In particular, screwdrivers of all different shapes and sizes. Useful to have a few spanners, the little spanners or nut runners for 2mm and 3mm size nuts. Drill and drill bits, a few files, big ones, small ones, Allen keys and so on. But then we'll start doing the assembly on the chassis, and the components for that are here. So we're looking at the buffer beams. We've got two front and back. They are reversible, so you can choose which side you like the look of. Any marks or scratches, put them on the back. Each coupler composes of 3 front components and 2 back fitting ones. So you go front one, a back one, a front one, a back one, and then the last front one. And that will make a 3-pocket coupler when you put the bolts through at the back to hold it all together. Now you can configure that to take the Accurcraft chopper coupler if you wish, but that involves putting 2 on the bottom, the 2 bigger ones in the middle and 1 thin one on the top. But once they're actually together, you hold them all tight with the 2 little screws on the back. So we've got the first buffer beam together, and you can see where I've put the screws in. But these screws need to be pretty tight. So the second one, I'm actually powering the screws in with the screwdriver. So that ensures that the various parts of the coupler are nice and snug. And now we fit these 2 onto the chassis. So there's a spacer to go on there, and then the holes on the end of the chassis, 2 M3 nuts. This is the back of the chassis, although the buffer beams are the same both ends, so it doesn't matter which one you fit. And just run those up with a little nut runner. And then same again on the front. These spacers, they need to be reasonably true so that you get a nice right angle. When it's bolted up, just check you're getting a right angle there. And if it's out, you may possibly want to just file any burrs or lumps off the top and bottom, either of the spacers or even some of the other components on the coupler. So that gets us our chassis more or less together. But we do want to just check that the footplate fits nicely here. So there's a little bit of movement on these bolts. Just make sure the footplate can sit down nice and flush either end there. And then just nip the bolts up. We don't fit the footplate yet, all the body components have got to go on it, but we'll continue by putting the wheels on the bottom of the chassis. So now we're ready to put all the wheel parts together, and there's a definite sequence for this, and if you get the sequence wrong you'll end up doing it again. So just make sure we follow through. To start with, the little sprockets are pushed onto the axles. They're only a press fit, and they want to be about 22mm from one end. They can be slightly adjusted later if you need to, but if you get them to 22 they won't be far off. Then you need a bevel gear to go on one end. That's got a grub screw in it, so the Allen key needs to be loosened off. There we go. And these need to line up with the brackets. So the brackets are different. That one's got 3 slots in it, That's a front wheel bracket. That one's got the hole in it for the motor. That's a rear wheel bracket. Then the axles are now different because we've got one with bevel gear on it and one without. And it's the motor one at the back with the bevel gear. Then we can pop the wheels on, and they go on fairly far up. At the moment we're just pushing them right in towards the gearing, and we give them a little nip up so they don't move. That's the front wheel set, keep it with that one. And then this is the rear wheel set. Once again, we'll keep them with the correct wheel bracket. Okay. Next stage is to put on 2 of these little E-clips. And these are awkward little blighters, and they end up going all around the room if you're not careful. So balance it on the top of the axle and just squeeze on with the pliers. Get it nice and square. The secret here is to have the axle on the bottom of the pliers before you squeeze down. If you do it the other way around, they'll go pinging off around the workshop and end up stuck in the carpet. So now we've got the wheel sets ready to go into their respective wheel brackets. But first we need to make sure these little bearings actually fit in the holes in the wheel bracket. If there's a bit of powder coat or paint in there, you might just need a quick clean out with a file to make sure they go. There, that's that one. They're only a light press fit, and they'll be held in place when we actually get the assembly together. Right, that one's quite a tight fit. So now here comes the tricky bit. We need to slide one bearing in the end of the wheel housing and one onto the axle. So that one will go that way, that one go that way. Before we start, we'll have a quick double check. So we've got the bearing and the circlip on each end. We've got no circlip on this end, but we've got the bearing already right tight up against the wheels. The wheels are the right way round with the flanges on the inside. The 2 sprockets line up. They're not one side, one the other. And we've got the back axle with the bevel gear. So let's just go through this one again. I've got the bearing on the end of the axle by the E-clip and the bearing there. Pushing it through the hole and then back into this side. Then I'm pushing this bearing down into its housing on the other side. And all that remains now is a very easy task of getting these little E-clips onto their slots in the axle. And this can be quite fiddly. So here are the wheel sets, which I've finished off by moving the wheels out to gauge. At the moment I've got them set on the 45mm gauge, so it's 40mm back to back on the wheels. And we'll leave it like that for the moment until we've got the wheels actually on the chassis. So there's the chassis plate. You've got the 3 slots that match the front wheel set like so. And you've got the holes that match the rear wheel set. So the front one can just go on with a 2mm bolt with a nut on it. To get him started. They don't have to be tightened yet, because obviously we're going to tension that up when we put the chain on. So that's just getting the front wheel set in place. There's the third little screw to go in, when I can find it. There we are. Now, note that the wheel sets go with the slope towards the front. This is now the front of the chassis with the cutout. And this is the back one with the motor in it. And we'll start off by fitting just one bolt at the front. And we won't fit it very tightly because we've still got to get the motor in along with the bevel gear. This is fairly fiddly, so leave that one loose for the moment. So there's the motor. You can make sure the little bevel gear actually fits on properly. There's a flat for the grub screw to go on the shaft of the motor. And the motor itself goes in from this side. Just make sure it all goes through. I'd normally put this bracket towards the back, although it doesn't particularly matter. But as it goes in, you've also got to get the bevel gear on. So let's find where that will slide on. A little bit of a fiddle to get this to go where we want him. There we are. Now, having got that part assembled, we've got to get 2 screws down in there, either side of the motor. And there's a little secret trick to doing that, which involves a bit of masking tape. So I've taken a little bit of masking tape and I've just stuck the screw onto the end of the screwdriver with it. And now, if I line up the holes, I can see where the thread hole is. There it is. I can lift the wheel bracket a little bit. Oh, that didn't stay. So lift the wheel bracket, I should be able to get down there in towards the motor. Just see whether that's actually started. Yep, I think we're away with that one. I'll rescue my bit of masking tape. Do the same again with the other one. I might need a fresh bit of masking tape on this, but never mind, we'll see how we get on. Once one is in, it lines up the other one, and you can see how lifting the wheel set just gives you a little bit more access into that hole. Take the masking tape off, just tighten the screws, and we have the back wheel set in place. So make sure that front bolt is tight as well, and double check square for the wheel set across. Now the last thing is checking the mesh for the bevel gear. So we need the Allen key to loosen off the grub screws, and the 2 little bevels need to be meshing nice and cleanly. I'll nip that one in place, just check the bottom one. See where the grub screw's got to. There he is. It's all a pretty snug fit in here. Okay, let's see how that's doing. Yep, it's a geared motor, so it doesn't freewheel very well. But we can see that we've got both sets of axles in place there, and I'll just tighten these up when I've got the chain in place. So this is the Delrin chain. And we need a piece 165 millimeters, which is about there, and it's quite easily split with a little screwdriver. So to change the length of the chain, you get the screwdriver in, give it a twist and it pings apart. And when you want to get it back together again, you've got two little pips on that end and two holes on this end, and you put one in and twist. So it's quite easy to set the length on it. This is the belt drive variant on one of the prototype Mini Planets. As you can see, it's got belts running on pulleys fitted to the backs of the wheels instead of the Delrin chain. And the only difference really on assembly is to make sure you get those belts in the right place before you put the axles into their bearings and get the circlips on.